Coming up, the Bahamas hoping to secure leadership on an international committee at the United Nations. And tourism officials mapping out ways to increase airlift into this country. So don't you move. The Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition, starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Good evening, everyone. I'm LaDawn Davis. A major push by the Bahamas at the United Nations to secure leadership on an international committee. Meanwhile, senior government officials are continuing to make the country's presence felt at what is being described as the most historic United Nations General Assembly to date. Clint Watson reports tonight from New York on the country's mission.
Prime Minister Honorable Pt.1 is now back in the capital. However, the work of the Bahamas continues here in New York City at the 7th session of the United Nations General Assembly. We can tell you the Bahamas will play a prominent role in this assembly, attending a number of special forums and communicating on a number of important issues, all a part of the Sustainable Development Goals for the United Nations. Now, we can tell you the Bahamas is lobbying for a chairmanship of one of the important committees, the Committee on Human Rights, and therefore has been in touch with a number of country heads and, of course, organizations to get the support behind the Bahamas in time for voting. Now, one of the featured highlights that will take place on Monday is when Social Services Minister, the Honorable Melanie Griffin, will ratify a convention on the disabled persons, which talks about equal rights. The Bahamas will be signing on to this convention and ratifying it, of course, which makes room for there to be equality among persons with disabilities and ensuring that they are taken care of in the Bahamas and in the country. It's a major ratification that the Bahamas will be signing on to, and of course will be expected of us to follow through with the principles behind it. We can also tell you that throughout the weekend, various ministers will be attending various forums instead of the Prime Minister, who, of course, had to return to the capital. The Minister of the Environment, the Honorable Kenred Dorset, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs is also here. Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald also in town to address a number of issues regarding education. Prime Minister Christie, during his address at the UN on Friday, would stress that the Bahamas is seriously pursuing greater avenues in education as a means of addressing social ills in the country and also as a means of addressing poverty within the country. Discussions will continue throughout next week as the Bahamas continues to ensure that it is in compliance with United Nations standards and signed on to treaties that will give us greater participation. Finally, one of the important keys that the Bahamas is hoping to have done is to ensure that small island developing states get the funding that it should to ensure that they are compliant with climate change and other issues such as renewable forms of energy. In New York at the United Nations, Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Tourism officials working to ensure the Bahamas maintains a fair balance of airlift while experiencing an increase in air traffic. Officials are being forced to grapple with the potential impact caused by the stalled opening of the Bahama property. And as Siesker Adderley tells us tonight, they are still in talks with key players to ensure growth in airlift and more benefits for the #1 industry.
As it stands, the Bahamas as a destination has no need for additional airlift, but that is expected to change once Bahamar comes on stream. Senior Director of Airlift Development in the Ministry of Tourism, Tyrone Sawyer, says the multiple delays of the Bahamian Riviera have put a snag on plans to increase airlift. However, he maintains that talks are ongoing with major airline partners such as American Airlines, Delta, U.S. Airways, Air Canada, Copa Airlines, and British Airways.
Once you've been talking to airlines for the past 2 or 3 years saying Bahamar is coming, there is some uncertainty. So between us and our industry partners, we've been having constant conversations saying this is where we are, and they're standing by now. They understand that there's been a delay and they're proceeding in that way.
Sawyer confirmed they're also negotiating with new potential partners.
What happens if you get additional airlift from Europe? That's a big deal because you've broadened the base of your airlift. And if you get the ability to generate good service out of China via good connections, you've again broadened the base of your airlift. So we're looking to do these things going forward.
Meantime, Sawyer says the work continues to increase airlift. The Bahamas is currently in a good position, having experienced a slight 5% increase this year. However, he noted officials must give careful consideration to the amount of airlift the destination attracts.
If you have too much airlift, that means prices go down. It seems to be a good thing. But all of a sudden, one airline will say, let's pull a flight, there's too much capacity. Then before you know it, another airline pulls a flight, saying that they're all thinking, these network planners at these airlines are all thinking the same way. So you've gone very quickly from too many seats to too few seats. And that's why when we talk about airlift, we always use the word balance. We want to have a balance between the number of flights coming in and the number of rooms that we have available in any of our destinations.
Once Bahamar opens, Sawyer says time will be of the essence to ensure the destination has sufficient airlift to accommodate the additional inventory. C.S. Scatterly, ZNS Network News.
Officials at the Bahamas Department of Corrections are reportedly investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of an inmate at the prison. According to sources, a prisoner died suddenly in the early hours of Saturday morning. No official word from Department of Corrections officials. We will pass on any additional information as it becomes available. Here at home, the electronic monitoring device has become a crucial part of law enforcement, tracking persons incarcerated or out on bail for serious offenses as ordered by the court. Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dr. Bernard Nottage, told ZNS News that a new Bahamian contractor to offer electronic monitoring services to the government has still not been selected. However, he says the Review Tenders Committee is one step closer to making that a reality.
We issued an RFP for private contractors to bid. We've had 3 bids in. We've evaluated those bids. Initially we had even more than 3 companies, but 3 companies had bids in that were that met or came close to meeting the requirements, and those are the ones that have been evaluated.
With reported breaches by persons on bail while wearing the electronic ankle bracelets, officials hope to improve its efficiency. Now, according to Minister Nottage, consultation was sought from experts in the United States.
We've had some consultation with U.S. specialists who have a long-standing experience with electronic monitoring. We've had to do that because there are a number of uses to which the devices can be put that we haven't been taking advantage of. So now that we've had our process and our equipment evaluated, we're in a better position to define what it is we need to get from the program. And so I anticipate that in the not too distant future we'll be making some announcement about whatever changes there are, if there are any.
Tonight, police are still on the hunt for suspects responsible for 2 separate shootings. The first incident occurred shortly after 2 this morning. 2 men were in an altercation at a nightclub located on Faith Avenue that resulted in one of the men being shot. The victim is listed in stable condition. And just an hour later, a man was sitting inside of his vehicle outside of a nightclub located on Mackey Street when a man armed with a handgun pulled up in a black Maxima and shot him before speeding off. That victim is also in hospital in stable condition. Meanwhile, another man is in hospital tonight with stab wounds after arguing with a female friend on Carmichael Road at 2 a.m. this morning. The victim was also rushed to hospital where he remains in stable condition. Investigations into all of these matters continue. And still to come, the Cuban ambassador to the Bahamas says adios. That story and more when the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition, continues.